Good morning, MDC, and welcome to the April 15th All-Employee Meeting. Delighted to know that there are folks joining us from around the state, and I think our numbers are still climbing a bit, so that's good. I really appreciate everyone's time and attention today, and we have a very full agenda today, as we typically do with these all-employee meetings. Mr. Hubbard, Deputy Director Hubbard's going to shepherd us through most of the rest of the agenda, as I am scheduled for vaccine number 2, so I cannot miss that. So I'll be joining virtually here in a little bit. We do have, you'll notice, a new agenda item called On a Personal Note, and so this is a new standing item at the all-employee meetings. With our new structure, we have some new positions, and I think sometimes there's still questions on who's in what role and what does that role do within the agency now. And so we're going to take opportunity to kind of highlight a position and who's in that position. And so bless Max Alliger's heart, the Southwest Regional Administrator, who willingly or unwillingly, either way, he agreed to do the very first On a Personal Note, so we get to know a little bit more about the position and who's in that position. And so that, we recorded that earlier, so you're going to see that recording here in a bit. I don't know about you, but I would tell you that probably the last several weeks, more so than before, I've been experiencing what I'm going to call just pandemic fatigue, where I think we're just, we're ready for spring, we're ready for winter to be over, and ready for perhaps some more normalcy. But I think there's also the recognition that we are likely never to go back to a pre-pandemic world. The world has changed, and on the one hand, that probably comes with some form of anxiety and stress and sense of loss. On the other hand, we know from science and every other aspect of how the world works that it's really when chaos and order, some sweet spot in the middle of chaos and order, of change and status quo, that true growth occurs and that we develop resilience. And so even as I look out at what an amazing spring day it is up here in Jefferson City, red buds are gorgeous. Everything just looks alive and well, that it's a reminder that we are pretty darn resilient. And with this change and growth comes that greater strength. So just a reminder to hang in there, to enjoy this beautiful spring. It is a reminder, and I appreciate HR sending out the email last week about what our colleagues at Department of Mental Health offer. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, 30-minute webinars, which do address wellness, mindfulness, stress management, as well as coping skills and strategies for dealing with COVID-19 and just difficult times in general. They're offered the first and third Tuesdays of the month from 3:30 to 4. So go back to that email from last week from HR Benefits, and you can sign up there. So thank you for that. I also wanted to spend just a couple of slides on reviewing what we saw in the results of the last quarterly pulse survey that you would have taken in January. And hopefully this is just a reminder of what you've already heard from either your branch leadership, your regional leadership, because we have encouraged branch and regional leadership to go through these results with their team. So I'm hoping what I'm providing to you now you have heard at some level already from your leadership. So I really want to hit both what seems to be going well and some bright spots, and then areas where we still have work to do. But a reminder on why this survey matters. We need to hear from all team members. We use this information. We send it to our leaders throughout the agency. We ask them to identify 1 or 2 areas where they believe as their team they can move the needle in these key areas. But the data is only as good as those who participate in it. And so really would encourage you to continue participation in these quarterly pulse surveys. They do ask very important questions in important areas about how we're working together as an agency. how we are moving on together on major initiatives, and certainly where we can improve. It's unique because it does enable us to track trends on critical measures, which we have been doing, and compare outcomes across the organization, and then identify specific areas of success and areas that we can work on. I was delighted to see the increase in our participation. We were above the statewide average, which certainly makes me feel good, and would love to see that number even grow. But 60% of our employees responded to the last survey. Thank you. If you're a part of that 60%, thank you for that. 52% of employees responded statewide. But would just love to continue to see that number grow so that the data is all the more valid and relevant to us. So some big themes that we picked up from the January 2021 Quarterly Pulse Survey. Overall, again, encouragement on the participation rate. The department realized very little change in the outcome areas of direction, engagement, leadership, and professional development. Results for some of the practice areas for strategic clarity, employee involvement, and talent development did see declines. They were not significant declines, but they were declines from the previous survey. A bright spot was that overall employees felt well-informed and felt like they had received good communication about issues related to COVID-19. So areas of strength, again, employees care about the fate of the organization. That's been clear from the very first survey that we have taken. It's very evident in the work that is accomplished every day that our employees care about Missouri Department of Conservation. This score continues to be strong with the latest score of around 94%. 66% of employees say that the organization's strategy is aligned with the vision. That's good, but I'd like to see that certainly grow. Other strengths are how employees understand their particular contribution to the department's mission. That was at 70%. And employees are having helpful conversations about professional development with their supervisors. That was 62%. So those were certainly, I think, compared to either past surveys or other agencies, we know that these are areas of strength. But as always, the QPS did identify some areas where we still have some work to do. Employees told us that the number one opportunity they saw was the quality of professional development. Only 45% of employees suggested that professional development had improved this past year. One of the ways we are responding to this challenge is through the development of a training and professional development team that can specifically focus on this area. Other areas we are struggling with include employee involvement in setting direction. Only 43% responded favorably there, and aligning the organization's goals with employees' personal goals. That was at 51%. There's currently work being done to identify and define the list of department programs that will include program descriptions, priorities, and measurable objectives intended to cascade down to branch and regional work plans and then down to employees' personal goals. So we do believe we're focused on work there that can hopefully move the needle in a positive direction. I am sure in many ways that you're tired of talking about a pandemic and hearing about COVID, and yet it is still encouraging to note that our employees did feel, according to the QPS, that they have the information they need to work safely and have the facts needed to make good decisions about the vaccine, about vaccination. I also want to note that the survey results showed that people are still experiencing stress, both personally and professionally, with COVID. While we hope this will get better very soon, I think it's important to be mindful that stress can certainly strain personal relationships, also professional relationships, and make conversations a little bit more challenging. It can create landmines that perhaps we weren't even aware of. So just something to be mindful of in ourselves, give each other a little more empathy That goes a long way as we continue to build relationships with our team. So next steps from what we heard with the QPS results, how are we responding to that? We continue our work, our culture work, by continuing to refine value statements, and I think we are very close, darn close, to finalizing value statements after receiving input from throughout the agency. And then work will begin on identifying associated behaviors and expectations. We'll continue our governance work with a focus on decision-making and role clarity associated with key department decisions, and so we're hoping that that helps on the strategic clarity questions. We are in the process of identifying what teams are needed across the department, how we'll communicate, and how we work together now in this new structure in a way that absolutely empowers and highlights collaboration throughout the agency. We continue our work on role clarity, clearly defining who's responsible, accountable, supportive, who we need to consult, who needs to be informed in this new organizational structure. As always, continued work on one MDC. We are one MDC, one team, and so how we support that statement is critical for everything we do at all levels of the organization. And then finally, related to the focus on professional development, you heard we have the new team set up. We're very excited about their focus on how we can expand and enhance our training and professional development throughout the agency. I'm very excited about that in particular, very excited to see what that team does. So we have taken the message from the QPS, and we're making sure that we are setting processes, structures, conversations in place that will hopefully move the needle in those key areas. So thank you very much for your engagement in the survey. It's important to us. Got to do a shout out for the Show Me Challenge. It's that time again. I think we're on the statewide on the 5th Show Me Challenge. And so it's an opportunity to identify, working with other agencies in particular, how to improve how we serve our citizens, how we serve the citizens of Missouri, and it with a focus on how we might cut red tape or save time and money. So if, and money's involved, first place $500, second place $300, third place $200, there's an incentive right there. But if there's any questions about it, if you have ideas, reach out to Kendra Whithouse, kendra.whithouse@mdc.mo.gov, or Lauren Hildreth. Both of them will be able to answer those questions. And I think the need to submit the pitch, and again, focus on multi-agency efforts, is by July 2nd. So just a shout out and reminder that that is coming up. All right, team. So we're about to roll out on a personal note, take one. We'll see how this goes. Thank you, Max Halliger, for agreeing to participate. Let's get to know Max and the Southeast region a little better. Southwest.
Hi, Max.
Good afternoon.
Hey, thanks so much for agreeing to do this very first segment of On a Personal Note. And we're going to do these with at expanded all staff meetings. And it's just to talk to some of our colleagues throughout the agency who may be in a new role in the new structure, who's certainly leading an aspect of the department. And so I thought I'm going to start with our regional administrators, and Gallagher is A is for Gallagher, so you're the regional administrator. So just a few rapid fire questions, Max, to get to know you better, what your current role is, and a little bit more about you. So let's start with this. Tell me a brief history of your work in the agency, and then share with me a favorite memory about the department to date.
Okay. I came on in 1995, so just got a little over 25 years under my belt. Started in prairie management at El Dorado Springs and worked there, moved into a private land role that didn't last a long time. The position didn't last. And then I spent many years at Clinton, either as grassland coordinator or the grassland bird coordinator, which was a little more of a specific job. And just a little over a year ago, of course, I came down to Springfield as the regional administrator for Southwest Region. Very much a return home for me. Live literally 20 minutes from my dad and my sister, and really kind of back home. And I'm thrilled for that opportunity, thrilled to be in the new role. I guess favorite memories would have to include the Prairie Chicken Translocation projects that I helped lead in Kansas and Nebraska. Just fantastic teamwork. Work with the local landowners was awesome. And then the work on the Audubon Conservation Ranching program, which has kind of been my cause for a long time, trying to stitch together that junction of agriculture and conservation. It's always been an interest for me.
Well, it's been a pretty significant one too, as you've really taken that to the national level. So congrats on that and your many successes to date. So tell me about this new role as regional administrator. Tell me, how would you describe it, or how do you describe it to your family members? And then tell me something that you think is working with the new structure, and then maybe an area that you think we still have some work to do.
Okay. I most often describe it as the role is helping people get conservation done. I think the role of a regional administrator is to help people make connections, help people meet deadlines, putting resources and people in the right places to get our priority work done. And one of the things I guess I'm most proud of is the way that we're sharing equipment and staff resources like never before. We've had a bulldozer from infrastructure maintenance doing habitat work on conservation areas. We've got lawnmowers from a previous forestry work team putting in fire lines on native prairies. We've got people doing things they didn't do before, and I think cooperating really, really well. That's exciting to see. I think an area where we still have work to do is we've got to make sure that despite the fact that the old divisions don't exist, we've got to maintain our forest, fish, and wildlife technical expertise. That's what's made us great as an agency, and we've got to find new ways to make sure we go back and touch that, to keep people strong in their technical disciplines, and to keep them thinking with the expertise that we've come to be known for. So that's something that we've got to keep front and center as we continue to roll this reorganization out.
I appreciate that. Good thoughts. All right, this next one, we're going to get a little creative.
Oh, mine.
You
Okay.
had to if you had to describe the Southwest region as a flavor of ice cream, Max, go with me, hang with me. What flavor would it be and why?
I'm going to say Neapolitan because you've got three flavors in one container. And in Southwest region, we've got the prairies, we've got the Ozarks, and we've got the streams and lakes that kind of stitch it all together. So I guess the only thing that I would add is that if I got to select a topping, there would be a bunch of mixed nuts.
Very good. Very good answer. Okay, next rapid fire question. If you could give your 20-year-old self, I'm not saying you're that much beyond 20, Max, but if you could, if you could give your 20-year-old self some advice, what would it be?
Don't give up any annual leave and take time to play more. I think we all can take ourselves a little too seriously sometimes, and we need to relax. And I think the term was sharpen the saw every now and then.
That's good. That's very good counsel. So, assuming someday you decide to retire, what will you miss most about the department? And you cannot say the people. Sorry. You can't say your colleagues. What else will you miss most?
Then it's got to be the shared sense of purpose that we've had. A very tight-knit community. all of us have eyes on what is best for the natural resources and for conservation. And that's been a very rewarding part of my career. And I think many of us would answer that same way.
I like that very much. So share with me one thing about the MDC mission that resonates with you personally.
Well, it's the care and stewardship of creation, really. From a very early age, Dad taught me to hunt, fish, and trap. My grandmother taught me plants. That's been a special part of my life from before I really could put words to it. So being with MDC has given me an opportunity to practice my craft, I guess you could say, to be part of something bigger and I think make a difference. So it's been very meaningful.
I love that. Okay. What are you reading or watching or something else that resonates with you right now that is inspiring you?
Well, I moved to a new home in September. So this spring is all about laying out new gardens. I've got native prairie patches. I've got woodland gardens, vegetable gardens. That's a big hobby when I get time. So that's always fun to kind of put your new vision into practice and kill a lot of fescue. As far as reading, I like to revisit Patrick McManus, my favorite outdoor humorist. Always good stuff. When I have spare time and read, it's usually for relaxation. So I'll say that.
I like it. Okay, last one, Max. You've done a great job, especially as my first contestant. You're not a contestant, but my first subject.
I hope there's not a valuable parting gift.
It's not part of your performance appraisal, I'll tell you that.
Very good.
But you're doing a great job. Okay, last question. You've got 24 hours left on this earth, and you get to choose one last outdoor activity. One way to connect with the outdoors and with nature. What's your activity and why?
Given the nature of the question, I'm going to assume that time travel is possible. And I would like to go back 8 or 9 years and play in the creek with my son. That's some of the best memories I've got. Some of the most special times have been splashing around the water and catching crawdads and fishing and things like that. So I guess if I had to choose one, that would be it.
Boy, that's a great way to wrap this one up. Thank you so much, Max, for what you do for the agency. So grateful to have you as part of our team. And thanks for playing along. On a personal note, you have a good rest of the day.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Good morning, everyone. Mike Hubbard, I'll be shepherding us through the rest of the agenda today. I would like to say that was a very good first installment of On a Personal Note, and I'm anxious to hear additional ones in the future. Very good job, both Max and the director. Next up on our agenda for today is legislative update. Deputy Director Aaron Jeffries is here to share with us what's going on over at the Capitol.
Hey guys, hope everybody's doing well. As you can probably tell, I'm a little less stressed than usual when we only have 4 weeks left in the legislative session. Things are going pretty good. We got a couple budget issues that the House has given us, but the work we've done with the Senate will likely have a lot of those problems disappear, but then we'll have to go to conference and work out those differences. The Senate Budget Committee is going to spend the entire week, next week, marking up the budget, which is disappointing to have that on the opening week of turkey season, but we'll do what we have to do. They'll take the budget up the following week, and that will leave them 1 week to work out the differences with the House. Right now, our 4 main priorities, the certain sex offenders unable to visit our nature center, that bill's progressing very nicely. It's tied up in a couple other bills. Jake's done a wonderful job weaving our legislation into other bills that are moving right now. The DMAP landowner liability, we're confident that's going to move. Prescribed fire has a really good chance of crossing the finish line this year. And then our feral hog bill, we're still not quite sure. We have a representative or two that's working against us on that process. But we do have a lot of support. I'll give kudos to Greg Collier for hog trapping for the entire month of March. He had several tours with ag groups as well as other folks, and that really helped bring the cattlemen on board to help actually lobby for the bill up at the Capitol. So we actually have the cattlemen and Farm Bureau and us all working together on this feral hog legislation. So we'll see what happens. Also want to have a shout out to Randy and Protection, the open field legislation that we saw coming last summer. We pretty much stopped that this year by coming up with a compromise that would put our game camera policy and statute for all agencies with law enforcement. That's likely going to pass this year. So we'll see how that goes. We do have to watch for amendments. We are at that time of year where we could see some of the negative legislation pop up in bills. So it'll be a lot of long nights for Jake and I watching both the House and Senate. Just a sincere thank you to everyone working on the fiscal notes. You help uncover issues early for us, and we can go over and address them quickly. And then legislative workshops. We've had this past month meetings here in the auditorium on feral hogs, quail management, and deer management, and those have been very successful. As I've told you all, anytime we can get legislators out of the Capitol, get them out in the field, or even over here at headquarters, they're totally a different person. They're more open to listening to what we have to say, and they're not so on guard all the time. And so next Thursday, we're actually having another workshop here in the auditorium, and that one will be on black bears, and we've invited about 100 legislators to that. So I just appreciate everything everybody's doing out there. Be safe the next couple weeks, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, Aaron. Aaron's definitely less stressed than normal. He had the opportunity to even play a practical joke on one of our staff that was, took a lot of coordination, and if you get a chance to talk to Kyle Larimore anytime soon, ask him about it, because I think that young man was stressing significantly over it for a few days. But it was pretty funny in the end, regardless. Next up on our agenda, Ms. Sue Rackers from HR is going to talk to us a little bit about the cyclical job review. Sue?
Thank you, Mike. Good morning. As department staff, we all understand that compensation can mean a lot of things. It means salaries, it means benefits, retirement, training. It means a lot of recognition, a lot of different things. And today we are going to focus our talk on salary. And as most of you remember, in fiscal year 19, we started with a new salary administration policy, which was based on the labor market and aligning our jobs with the current labor market. So the labor market, or the job market, is basically the simple laws of supply and demand. So what kind of jobs do we have, and what's the supply of them versus the demand for that in the market? So we're going to talk today about keeping our jobs in alignment and the importance of that. And the main topic that we have today is the 3-year cycle of reviews. And what we basically mean by that is we are going to look at the jobs, all jobs in the department on a 3-year cycle. So we'll talk more about that here in the next few slides, but before we go forward, I want to spend a little time looking at what we've done so far. The department has really worked progressively towards a new compensation structure, as you all know. And that really started, phase 1 was the job study. In the job study, we took a look, or had a consultant take a look at all the jobs in the agency. They aligned our jobs with a certain salary grade based on the labor market. And so really, phase 1, that was the primary concern or the primary objective of the job study, was to get those jobs aligned with the labor market. The second part of that was that we also looked at time and job, and we've had a lot of discussions about time and job and what that means since that time. But really, the sole purpose of looking at time and job was to alleviate compression. And for those of you that have been here a while, you've heard that term before. And compression basically means that we might have a group of staff doing the same job with a variety or various years of experience, making either the same salary or similar salaries. And we had quite a bit of that occurring prior to the job study. So really, when we looked at time and job and those compression adjustments were given, it was basically only to move people further into the salary range and to create some differentials between people that had more years of experience versus those that maybe had less. And the salaries were based on that. So that was all done in phase number 1. Phase 2 occurred in FY20, and that was really the second year of compression adjustments, because remember, we split those out over 2 years, mainly for our costs. It was a cost factor, that's why we did it that way. And then also in FY20, we gave the first round of labor market increases. It was a 2.2% increase that was given in fiscal year 20. Phase 3 involved the development of a performance management team. That team met for, I think, about 3 years to talk about the salary administration plan. And as you'll remember, there were 3 components that they were tasked with. It was labor market, the years of service, years of salaried MDC service, and then also performance pay. So that team worked very carefully at developing the details of those 3 components and shared that with administration. It was approved by administration last year. And then the 4th phase is really what our focus is going to be on today. And that is really looking at our jobs and saying, are they still in alignment with the labor market, and how do we know? So it's important that we look at our jobs on a regular basis and not wait for a job study to occur or a full department-wide job study to occur. And that's really the focus or the reason for why we are beginning these reviews now. This slide may look familiar to some of you. We shared it also at the time of the job study. But labor market reviews are a pretty complicated process, and there are a few things that go into that. We try to compare our jobs with similar jobs and similar employers. So we look at size, we look at geography, we look at what's our recruiting pool. You know, does this need to be a national search versus a state search? All of those things come into play. And so when we look at the labor market analysis, those will all be a part of that discussion. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later on as well. The other thing that I think is important to note on this particular slide is that our current salary ranges were developed based on the labor market. What does that mean? Well, the minimum is based on the 25th percentile of that labor market. The midpoint is based on the 50th percentile, and the maximum is based on the 75th percentile. So once that labor market is assigned, those salary grades are set based on that percentage. So as I started off by saying, is we're going to look at every job in the department within the next 3 years. That will be hourly and salaried jobs. And some of you may remember that with the job study, a lot of those hourly job titles changed to be in alignment with the salaried jobs. We do still have a few outliers out there, but regardless, we'll be looking at all of them. So every job in the agency will be reviewed. And again, we're just trying to make sure that our jobs are still adequately slotted in our salary ranges based on that labor market. And I think the other important note here is that it's an ongoing process, so it's not a one and done. You know, once we do this 3-year cycle and it's over, we will be, whew, that's over, thank goodness, right? But we'll also be starting it over again. So it's something that we'll continue to look at on an ongoing basis. The main reason for that is if there's a spike in the labor market for a certain skill set or a certain type of job, we want to catch that while it's occurring rather than wait for us to get 10 years behind and realize that we missed the mark on that particular job or that particular family of jobs. So Human Resources will actually begin doing these reviews in the next couple of weeks. And we'll be looking at, in year 1, all jobs within salary grades 1 through 6. In year 2, we'll be looking at salary grades 7 and 8. And in year 3, the jobs in 9 through 18. And looking at that, you might be scratching your head and saying that looks kind of skewed. How did you guys come up with that? What we actually did was look at our number of job titles and our number of people in those job titles in each of these salary grades. And that helped us to determine which jobs we'll look at each year. But I do think it's important for staff to note that Human Resources will be the ones doing the analysis. We had a lot of questions with the job study about how did the consultant do the analysis, what went into that, and we'll be doing that on our own, so we'll better be able to address those types of questions moving forward. I think the big takeaway on this slide is that all jobs will be reviewed. So if you are watching this video thinking, well, nothing has changed with my job. I'm doing the same job that I was at the time of the job study. My duties are the same. Even through the reorg, I'm still doing the same job. We will still do market analysis on your job. So you do not have to let us know that something has changed in order for us to review it. It's not like the reclassification process. So all jobs will be looked at, even if there are no duty changes at all. And I think the other very valuable thing here is this is not an attempt to eliminate jobs or to find out whose job is no longer valued. We are purely trying to align jobs properly with the labor market. So what does that process look like? This is going to be a pretty different process from what we did with the job study back in 2017 and 18. We will be sending the job description review to all branch chiefs, and we will ask the branch chiefs to identify the core duties of each job. They can pull in any staff that they need to effectively complete that job description. What we're really asking from them is what are the core duties of this job? And when we say core duties, those are the duties that are required to perform the job. So if we took those away, could that job be done effectively? Why do we have the job? What is the purpose of this particular job? Why do we need it? That's what we mean when we say core duties of the job. So if we took those away, the job would be severely impacted and we would not be able to perform the duties that we need done. So keep in mind that we will not be asking every employee to complete a PDQ like we did with the department-wide job study. This will basically be driven from the branch chiefs and they'll pull in necessary staff to complete that portion. Then step 2 is that we'll also be providing the branch chiefs with a list of all staff that are currently performing each job title being reviewed. So let's say, for example, that they are looking at the resource management technician. They will review that job description and they'll also get a list of all resource management technicians. Then what they're going to do is take a look at that each particular person and make sure that they are performing the core duties of that job. Now we know that when we're looking at various people in a certain job title, they all have certain nuances, certain things that they do that nobody else does. And we know that that's going to happen. It's going to vary from person to person, position to position, but the core duties of that job are still the same. So we're really saying to the branch chief, take a look at your employees and are they spending the majority of their time performing the core duties? And that's really the exercise that we want them to have. And they may say, well, I've got this employee who, yes, they're doing the core duties, but they're actually spending a big portion of their time doing this duty. And so if it's somebody who's consistently and regularly performing duties that are outside of the norm of those core duties and they're spending a fair amount of time doing that, then the branch chief can actually ask for a new PDQ and they can ask HR to review that job. We'll take a look at it and say, yep, we agree we need to look at this one closer, or no, we don't. If we think that it does, it will fall into our reclassification review process. So once the branch chief has completed that review, we'll actually be doing the market analysis. We spent quite a bit of time talking about market analysis at the time of the job study, but for those of you that weren't here at that time, basically what we do is we take a look at the core job duties that are being performed. And when we look at those, again, we look at private and public sector. We look at jobs that are similar in nature. We look at employers that are similar in size, and look at job families that are similar. So we're really looking very hard at the duties that are performed, and we're trying to match them with similar jobs and similar employers with similar responsibilities and duties. And then I think I alluded to it earlier, but we also look at geography, industry, and size. So let's say, for example, that we were recruiting a deputy director. Hopefully that's not the case. But if we are, we might look nationally for that. If we are recruiting another position, we may be able to find that market data right here in the state of Missouri or in the city of Jefferson City. So it really depends on the type of job and the skill set that we're looking for. Is it a unique skill set that requires us to look beyond Missouri, or is our focus here? The market match also involves the job content. We receive this question a lot. You know, if I'm an admin assistant and you're looking for a job match, do you just look for administrative assistant and call it good? No, we don't. What we actually look at are the duties involved with that particular job. Titles can vary greatly, so they are really not a part of the analysis at all. What we're really looking at is the duties and the amount of time spent doing those duties. We also look to make sure that they're in the same job family, that they match, the level of scope is the same, and that they require similar qualifications and experience. Does it require a degree? Does it not require a degree? Does it require experience? Is it entry level? What is it that this job requires for that person to actually be successful in it? And those are the types of things that we're really looking for here. Sometimes we'll get questions about the job itself, saying, well, I'm the only person that does this type of job. How can you find matches? And it might be that I'm researching bears and there's no match out there for bear research, but I might find somebody that's researching, you know, some other animal, and the process is the same. Everything looks the same. That's really what we're looking for, is similarities. That does not have to be an exact match in order for it to be considered a match. So what this screen really does is it looks at the process as a whole, just kind of a review of what we just talked about. If you look in the upper left-hand corner, we start off with updating the job descriptions, and again, that will be done at the branch chief level, but they will be able to pull in supervisors or staff as they need in order to do that effectively. Then they'll review the core duties of that job, and they'll also look at their list of people that are performing that particular job. And remember, if the answer is yes, this person is performing all of the core duties of the job, we believe that they are a good match, then we move on to the market analysis step. If the answer is no, this person's performing the core duties, but they've also got quite a bit of experience that's outside of those core duties, it's higher level, or it's taking up this amount of time and it's totally different from what those core duties are, then it goes into the reclassification process. So going back up to the market analysis, if the answer is yes, we will contact surrounding states. We'll survey them for similar jobs and what those salaries are. We'll also use the published survey data, which does impact both private and public companies. And after we do that review, we'll say, is the market data the same? Has the salary grade for this particular job changed? If the answer is no, then there's no change at all. If the answer is yes, then we'll make a recommendation to the director's office. The director will review that. We'll go through that process of additional research or answering questions. And once that recommendation is final and she has approved that salary, we will notify staff of what that change actually is. So that's one thing that's a little bit different here, is regardless of what the outcome is, all staff will be notified. So once that job is studied, you'll get something in writing that says, hey, we've reviewed your job, and we do find it still to be in the proper salary grade, or it's changed, and here's why, or here's where we go from there. One other thing that's important to note, especially for branch chiefs and their staff, we have developed a new email, cyclicaljobReviews@mdc.mo.gov. And I know you're getting kind of familiar with having those individual emails. And this is one that if you see it, please don't disregard it as junk mail. We are asking for something specific related to our job analysis. And that's really why we bring that here. The other thing I want to caution is that reviews do not necessarily mean a change in your salary grade. You know, sometimes when we start doing salary analysis, people will get excited or worried and say, okay, what's gonna happen? Are you gonna change my salary? Is something going to happen? And that's not really what the purpose of this review is. The purpose of this review is to make sure that we have that job listed in the proper salary grade, that it's still aligned with the labor market. And so that's really what we're trying to do. And again, any analysis outcome will be shared in writing with staff. Any questions? I guess. Sorry, Mike, I stole your thunder there. Sorry. Any questions I need to address, Alan? And feel free, if you do have questions, you can always send those through to the Cyclical Job Reviews email. We'll definitely respond to those as we can.
Thank you, Sue. Certainly appreciate the fact that we're getting underway with job reviews again. Appreciate the update. Thank you. Next on the agenda, we're going to have Mr. Chris Sheppers from Conservation Business Services give us an overview of vehicle and trailer inspections. Chris?
Is there notes? Am I able to see the notes on the bottom or not?
Need a few minutes, Al?
Do what?
You need a few minutes?
Yeah, yes, please.
We'll change gears here briefly, Bob.
I think the computer needs to be restarted.
Okay, folks, it sounds like we may have a significant technical difficulties, so we may be shutting down and tuning out. Will they lose audio too? No. So I think folks in the field can still hear us. And with that, while they're doing that. No, you can't. We've lost everything?
It says live stream offline.
Okay, well then we'll wait momentarily. I was gonna go ahead and have Tom come up and give a branch update, but.
Nothing, it was still hung up on, oh wait, there you are. I just had to reboot.
So I'm back, hopefully to the folks in the field.
Yeah, I don't think you ever left.
Oh, all right. Well, in that case, while we're rebooting and everything, Tom, do you want to, we've got a branch chief updates, and we'll go ahead and jump into some of those, and then we'll jump back onto the agenda as we get the technical issues ironed out. Mr. Neubauer, HR.
Perfect. When the video's off, it's the old adage of, you know, a voice for TV or a face for radio. That's me. So, oh, you can see me now too. Shoot. All right. So just a quick update, and appreciate the progress that we've been making, but April 15th is no longer tax day. That was deferred, but it still is the deadline day for Q3 quarterly performance checks, or as I'm calling them now, quarterly performance conversations. We are definitely not going out and tracking or seeing how many have completed those yet, because today's the due date, but just as a reminder, there are some branches, and certainly each supervisor needs to be checking on whether or not their branch and specifically their direct reports have completed those quarterly performance checks. We do have a number yet that in some branches that have not completed their Q1 and Q2 checks. You need to get those revised, because part of our recommendations to the commission for the pay plan this year include funding performance pay for staff. But that will require the completion of each of those quarterly performance checks to ensure the discussions are there, the data is there to help defend and help boost or defend those claims, or defend the ratings, ultimate ratings at the end of the year. So please make sure, if you haven't, to catch up on those quarterly performance checks. It really does help staff know where they're at in terms of how they're doing. It also provides us as supervisors with a valuable opportunity to provide that positive feedback for all the hard work that's going on out there. That's it for me. And now, back to your regularly scheduled program.
Are you ready, Chris?
Yep. All right. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Chris Sheppers. I am the Fleet Services Specialist for the CBS branch. I manage the purchasing and replacement of the vehicles, heavy equipment, ag items, marine items, ATVs, UTVs, trailers, annual inventory, WEX cards, and then the department leases. So today I'm going to talk about a new process regarding vehicle and trailer inspections. I'd like to start with telling a little background on this process in the past. There we go. In previous years, we would try and conduct an annual inspection on vehicles and trailers anytime the item would be brought into an MDC mechanic to be repaired. Missouri law used to state that every vehicle 5 years or older would be required to have a Missouri safety inspection completed every 2 years. Fleet Services, as you can see, Fleet Services didn't have a good way to capture and track these. And as you can tell, we only inspected about 26% of the fleet on average each year. In July of 2019, a new law was passed that stated only vehicles that were 10 years old or 150,000 miles would need an inspection. So the question is, why are inspections still going to be required? These inspections will allow our MDC mechanic to still ensure that the vehicles and trailers are safe and mechanically sound for our employees to use. With the type of work we do as a department, our vehicles and trailers go off-road quite often and can become more prone to safety and mechanical issues compared to a vehicle that goes down the highway. Also, the inspections our mechanics conduct are more thorough than what a standard Missouri safety inspection requires. These periodic inspections will also help catch any potential catastrophic failures before they might happen while traveling. This, in the end, ends up saving time and money for the department. Typically, we'll be able to see if a tire would be able to be replaced sooner than what a state inspection would require. Also, it's a good time for us to be able to report any damages to vehicles and trailers that would have maybe possibly needed an accident report. Here's an example of a check sheet. This is for the vehicle inspection check sheet. As you can tell, it is pretty thorough and goes through basically every part of that vehicle. It allows us to inspect everything and be able to report out on anything that didn't pass inspection and what the corrections might need. Then this is a trailer inspection receipt. As you can tell, it's basically going through the same thing, pass and fail on every part of the trailer. All right, we're gonna kind of go through some pictures here of some of these trailers. This is a picture, it's from December of 2020 inspection. It's a 1975 Holtzclaw boat trailer. The coil springs were failing, the axle was bent, and the frame was nothing but rust. And the wiring was dragging on the ground and was so dry rotten that you could just snap it in half. The last inspection on that trailer was in May of 2015. So as you can tell, over those 5 years, a lot went wrong with that trailer. All right, this is a picture from a 2020 inspection also. It's a 1989 utility trailer, and its frame was completely rusted out, and the support uprights were cracked at the welds. This trailer was originally used to haul ATVs, but it's now being used to haul UTVs. The trailer was not designed to haul the heavier UTV, which ultimately caused stress cracks, which ultimately the mechanic ended up deeming this trailer unsafe and must be removed from service. There was no record of an inspection ever being completed on this trailer before 2020. Here's just another picture. We commonly see the frame kind of rusted on the bottom here. Did not have a good picture for this next story. We had a 2000 Doolittle box trailer that was brought into the shop. The mechanic put the trailer up on jack stands to inspect the leaf springs in the underneath of the trailer when the trailer started to fall. It started to fall due to the frame where the jack stand was so rusted out that the jack stand went right through the frame. Then here's a picture of a vehicle that we had brought in. It was during an inspection. There was damage noted on the rear quarter panel, and the spare tire was put on, and the other tire was in the bed of the truck. Upon inspection, it was determined that this truck had ran off the road some time back and hit a culvert, knocking the rear tire off and damaging the side of the truck, and that no accident had been reported to the safety office. So, path forward here. Fleet Services turned on the automatic email notifications to assigned individuals starting April 12th. Individuals will receive emails 6 months out, 30 days out, and 7 days out when the item is due to have an inspection completed. If the inspection is not completed, then supervisors will be notified. MDC vehicles and trailers will be on a 2-year rotation. It's also imperative that Fleet Services is notified anytime an individual who is assigned a vehicle or a trailer leaves the department or transfers. During annual inventory, that is not the time when we should be making those corrections. We should be making those corrections throughout the year. Also, emissions inspections for the St. Louis vehicles will still be on the biannual basis. So the next step moving forward for the Conservation Business Services, Fleet Services, is we are going to start setting up email notifications to individuals when their vehicle or equipment is due to have a routine maintenance completed. We will be moving towards the gas engines at 5,000 mile cycle and diesel engines at 10,000 miles cycles. This will be 5 and 10,000 miles from their previous service. We will also be conducting a lean event for the annual inventory process at the end of May. We feel that a lean event will be beneficial to ensuring we help streamline this process for future years. Just another side note, Fleet Services also requires that all vehicles, equipment, and trailers that are brought into a mechanic to be cleaned out of all mud, debris, and trash. Then any questions or comments? Yes, Jennifer.
So, I'm trying to figure out if I knew that. No, good, we're good, okay. So, I'm trying to put myself in staff's shoes. I've been with the agency when annual inspections were required, and I've been with the agency long enough to know I went many years and never had to take a vehicle, that I knew anyway, for inspection. So, I would be concerned that, we've gone through different time periods where we haven't been great about being able to replace certain pieces of equipment, especially trailers. Do we have, a mechanism in place if someone brings in a trailer that fails, absolutely fails? Are we gonna be able to procure, and I know right now is kind of not the best time just because of the pandemic to get anything, but, I mean, will we be able to replace things quickly for staff if they do fail?
Yes, on average, we usually try to have a little bit of buffer money in our budget for those items that we know are gonna come up during the year that are gonna either fail or have a catastrophic issue, engines or whatnot, it might be, to where we know those are gonna come in, so we usually have that ability that if a trailer comes in and does not pass inspection and it's too costly for us to be able to fix, the idea would be, we would go ahead and get that trailer replaced as soon as possible, which ideally, we would have funds available that year to be able to replace it.
Okay. And then, just to be clear, we have no intentions of being punitive. If folks come in and they've not been able to report an accident or haven't, we're not about trying to get folks
Absolutely
in
not.
trouble. We just need to know.
Yep.
So when it comes time for sale and those things, or
And
if it maybe
that-
caused
that
damage
picture-
that they didn't anticipate.
That picture actually occurred from a college student from a university.
Okay.
When they brought it back to us. So, yes, we're not out there trying to turn anybody in for anything. Some of these damages, that issue, that should have been looked at because there could have been some serious structural issues with that vehicle when it hit that culvert. And that's what we're more concerned about here, is we want to ensure these vehicles are safe.
Okay. And then, I guess, just, as the deputy for the goal, maintaining the public trust, I think the care and upkeep of our vehicles is something that the public does look at closely. And any help we can get from the staff to improve, I've said, I think, or you guys and I, Jeff and you and I have talked about the fact that if we can actually reduce our maintenance costs, repair costs on vehicles over the life of those vehicles, just because we're more committed to an inspection and early repair cycle, it should help us with our trust scores.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Those are all the questions I had.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Chris. Greatly appreciate it. As Jennifer said, I think the goal of this is just to make sure that our staff as well as the public are safe with the vehicles and trailers we're operating, and that is the goal. And I'm glad to hear we have some money to replace those that need replaced fairly quickly once we find that out. So we'll move on. Next on the agenda, Agents of Discovery Program. Ms. Susie Wachowski is here today to give us an update on that.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Susie Wachowski. I am the exhibit coordinator out of the central office here. And I'm going to take a few minutes with you all today to talk about the new software. It's an app-based program that is called Agents of Discovery. Agents of Discovery, what is it? It is an augmented reality experience for nature centers. That means that it is an app that engages our audiences through gaming. This is great because it encourages non-traditional audiences to interact with MDC. There are two different ways that this format works. The first is a GPS-activated site challenge. So what that means is when a visitor comes to your nature center or facility, they will have the Agents of Discovery app downloaded, and when they come within a certain range of a challenge, they will have that challenge automatically pop up on their phone. There's a variety of different formats that these little challenges take, these mini games. There are a couple of options to choose from when we're building out those missions, those challenges. You can have multiple choice, image pickers, and then there's also augmented reality games, and that's this fish like an eagle little screenshot that you see here. There's also a different format that we can take advantage of with Agents of Discovery. It's called an image-triggered at-home challenge. So what's really wonderful about this particular format is that visitors don't necessarily have to be at our site or experience our facility in person to be able to take advantage of a learning opportunity through this Agents of Discovery app. So what visitors will do is they can print off these particular images and then place them around the house, or if they're a teacher, they can print them off and put them around the classroom. So this is particularly great for those folks who are, maybe they live too far away from a facility to be able to visit us in person. Maybe they are a school group who is unable to travel for field trips at this point in time. Or maybe they're simply a member of the public who maybe doesn't feel comfortable traveling to public facilities quite yet because of the pandemic. So this still allows us to be able to engage with those audiences, even if they aren't physically with us on site. Like I mentioned earlier, there are a bunch of different challenges, different formats these little mini games take. What's great about this is it allows us to customize our missions so that we can have dynamic and engaging material. So visitors can really encourage, it really encourages repeat visitors. So they can come back and still have a novel experience because they have up to 10 different ways that you can format your little mini games. So what kind of stories can we tell with this? Well, the beauty of this software is that it really allows for a lot of flexibility in terms of different programming and stories that we can tell. We can tell a variety of success stories. That can be anything from the eagle population restoration efforts, the peregrine falcon efforts, and also Peanut the turtle. So there's a lot of ways that we can engage our audiences. It's also really great because it allows for flexibility to tell some more seasonal stories. For example, we can tie this challenge into events that we already have going on within our department and really boost and promote that through this app. So, for example, the sugar maple tapping program is a big event that we have in the winter at Rockwoods. So you can use that app then to do things like encourage different opportunities for visitors. Let's say, for example, they're at that sugar maple tapping event and there's a long line for that physical interactive experience that they're looking for. Well, with this, you can then take the Agents of Discovery app, tie it directly to that event, and then you can have visitors play that little game while they are waiting for a physical interactive experience. So it's a way to pulse your visitation as well. So it's a really great tool to use to both market, boost your experiences, and allow for pulsing of audience members through your particular events. There are also event-based stories that you can tell. So looking at tying into the State Fair and to Eagle Days. And then there are habitat stories. So you can tell visitors about the importance of your wetlands or your glades if you have them on a trail. So now what I'd like to do is I'd like to share a little video with you all that gives a demonstration of what those visitors experience when they are playing on our apps.
Hello everyone, I'm going to give you a brief demonstration of what visitors can experience when they play with us through the Agents of Discovery app. So this is the home screen that they will see, and they will be able to select a mission. Now this can be based on their GPS location, so they can adjust it to see what missions they have nearby. It's also great because they can download these missions on the Agents of Discovery app prior to visiting a site, which means if they are on a trail that does not have access to Wi-Fi or cell phone tower service, it doesn't matter. They can still pull up that mission and be able to play it. For the purposes of the demonstration today, I will be sharing the Missouri State Fair mission. This mission will be active for the duration of the fair, so that will be August 12th through the 24th only. And this will be the first one that we do that will be event focused. So this is a way for us to draw visitors into the MDC Pavilion by providing this custom experience while they're there at the fairgrounds. You'll see this really nice landing photo that will attract visitors, and then the avatar will pop up. Now this avatar here is on display, that his name is Agent Woodrat. However, we are going to have our own custom avatar that will be developed. It will be a kid named Oscar. He likes to explore and observe the world around him. So he will be MDC's avatar throughout these entire missions. So the avatar will prompt you to play. So it gives you some direction. So it says, "Welcome, Agent. Your mission today is to discover new and exciting facts about fish, forest, and wildlife in Missouri. Are you ready? Let's go." So then you can see here that all of the challenges, those are those little icons that are popped up here, are located within the boundaries of the MDC Pavilion at the fairgrounds. So here we have a nice Google Map picture that will populate, and visitors then can walk through the space. They can walk through the pavilion area where the demonstrations happen to activate a challenge. There are also challenges here in the main pavilion and also in the Naturescape Garden area. So once a visitor's phone walks within the radius of the challenge, it will activate. So for the purposes of the demonstration, I will show you two different challenges that were developed. So this first one is about eagles. And at the beginning of each of our little mini games, those challenges, we have opportunities for interpretation. So this really frames the story, gives a little bit of tidbit of information, and helps provide direction for what sort of game the visitors are going to play so they know what to expect. Bald eagles swoop in after food that other animals have sourced, grabbing what's been left or dropped, or outright stealing others' prey. Bald eagles are fierce predators that hunt from high up perches and hover over water. Okay, so I have activated the little mini game here, and you can see at the bottom of my screen, I've got the net, and now I can see all of the little fish that are swimming around as part of the augmented reality experience. So what I do is I take this fish net and I flick it and try to catch fish. So you've got a couple of opportunities to try and catch fish, and so you can see it can be challenging not only for little kids, but also for groups of all ages. And so there you go. Now you can see in the net that I caught one. I've got a couple of chances left here to catch some more, so it's not too late. And there we go. Let's see if I can get one more. All right, so after you finish playing the little mini game, then it pulls up a screen that lets you know you've successfully completed the little challenge, and it provides an opportunity for additional interpretation. So the end of this mission says, this challenge, says, bald eagles build large nests in treetops near water and add on every year. The average nest is around 4 to 5 feet in diameter and 2 to 4 feet deep. If you spot an active nest in Missouri, you can sign up to be an eagle monitor. All right, and then there's this little check mark that indicates you've completed that particular challenge. So once you have gone through and completed all of the little challenges, all of the mini games on site or through the at-home activity, then it will prompt you to claim your reward. And that's this little present icon up the top yet. So I haven't completed them all yet, which is why I cannot view the reward. So that reward can be a couple of different things. We could have the reward be a physical reward that visitors can claim when they go up to the visitor center or the interpretive site. And that can be something small like a sticker, or we've got some temporary tattoos. So just little tokens that make it fun and interesting for visitors to play. We can also have a digital incentive, and that is in the form of custom Snapchat filters. So what's really fun about those is that we can have a custom MDC Snapchat filter that is designed specifically for the Department of Conservation. So they will, after they complete their challenges, the mission has been finished, then that Snapchat filter will pop up. Visitors can snap a photo of themselves with that filter on it, and it takes them directly into their Snapchat. So they can post MDC related activities onto their social media feed, which is a really great opportunity for us to continue to cross promote and increase our social media footprint on other platforms like Snapchat and Instagram. I'm going to show you one more here, and then that will give you a sense of what we can accomplish with this app. Pollinators. This particular challenge is about pollinators. So the prompt asks which animals pollinate plants and flowers. You have 3 correct answers. That's that selected 0 out of 3. And you can scroll through and pick the image that best fits your question. So this first image here looks like a couple of ants, and we all know that ants are pollinators. The next one is a seagull, which is not a pollinator. Then we've got a monarch, which we all know are pollinators. And of course, bees are pollinators. And the last one, bald eagles, not pollinators. So once we've selected all 3 of our images, we're going to hit this blue check answer button. And then it dings. It gives you a little notification to let you know that you've successfully completed that challenge, and it provides additional interpretation. So this particular one says, correct, pollinators work hard both day and night. Here are some busy night pollinators. So that gives visitors a chance to take a look and see what other pollinators that they maybe wouldn't have thought of are actually pollinators. So again, an opportunity to share additional information with visitors. So that is all of the demonstration that I'm going to share with you today. However, if you have more questions, you want to see more information, you want to look at this in more detail and explore more of these challenges, I am happy to give you a more in-depth tour and guidelines through how to create and what different formats these challenges, those mini games within the larger mission can take. Okay, so that was a short and sweet little demonstration there. Like I said, I'm happy to give more information if you're curious about what other little challenges are available for us to develop further. So I wanted to talk about the back-end experience for MDC and why this is not only a cool programmatic tool, but also a really useful tool for us in terms of visitor information. So why Agents of Discovery? In short, it's all about data. Software provides in-depth data on user experiences. So we are able to capture basic demographic information like age, population, or age, gender, and location of the player. We're also able to capture information like trail usage and site usage. So that's a valuable tool for us to track as well. And then we're also able to collect visitor data to gauge effectiveness of reaching different audiences. What that means is that we can look at back-end experiences like how long it takes for a visitor to complete a particular mission, how often they get questions answered correctly, and if they're coming back and revisiting those missions later. So it's a great way for us to gauge whether or not we're reaching our intended audiences. It's
It's also a way to see whether or not the content that we've provided is in line with those people that we're trying to reach. So it's an opportunity for us to really get a direct feedback on whether or not the programming that we've developed through that mission is appropriate for the staff or for the visitors that we're trying to reach. Another great thing that's nice about this particular software is that it comes with a custom marketing package. So they did a really great job of integrating the marketing materials into this subscription that we have purchased. So we are able to utilize posters that they've developed to have it printed on site so visitors are aware that it's available to them. It's also integrated easily into our website so we can market for new and upcoming missions and challenges. And then it's also easily integrated into our other social media platforms like Facebook. I mentioned this a little bit in the demonstration already, so I won't get too much into this, but only to say that this opportunity, this digital reward at the end of the mission lets us increase our digital footprint within other social media platforms. So what can AOD do for MDC? It's a different way to program. So we are allowed to have some flexibility here. We can tell very specific stories. We can also integrate it and have it be a layer on top of our physical interpretation already on site. So there's a lot of opportunities to tell a variety of different stories that we couldn't do in other formats. It keeps stories fresh. We can update our stories based on the needs of the department. So we don't have a lag time there in the development of these new stories. So they can both be very specific and they can be more frequent. And it allows us to reach new audiences. So this is a great opportunity for us to engage with those yayas. I know that Heather Feeler had worked with the Mizzou Journalism School, and they had done extensive research on ways in which that we can engage those young adults and those teenage groups. So utilizing technology is an easy hook for them. Another benefit of having technology is that it can serve as a bridge between folks who are very comfortable using technology and folks who maybe are not as comfortable being in the outdoors. So you can use this as a way to get them familiar with nature and being outside, and so that's kind of that hook for them. And again, it provides both on-site and at-home experiences, so we can reach them even if they're not coming directly to us. Coming to a phone near you, we are looking to launch this program in the early summer of 2021. The first missions that'll be launched are at Runge, Cape Girardeau, Burr Oak Woods, and Powder Valley Nature Centers. Our first event-based mission will be at the MDC Pavilion during the State Fair, and we will have new missions launching every 3 months. Any questions?
I want to ask at least one. So are the folks at those nature centers, they're already working on their missions?
That's right, yes.
And they're able to upload, I mean, are they doing it on mobile devices themselves? Is it something you work through a PC interface to get established?
Yeah, so there is a PC interface. It's a website that we have the ability to log into and create all of those missions. So we have a number of different users that can go in and create those missions. And then we also have the opportunity to gain that back-end user data through that same website. So the website will be used to create content and look at data. And then we also have the app, which will be for that visitor experience.
Okay, as we grow opportunity, I guess I'm thinking about how this could grow. You know, it doesn't look that much different than what I saw, at least on Pokemon Go or whatever my kids were doing at the time, right? And actually still do. They're old enough, they probably shouldn't be doing it anymore, but they still do. How would, on conservation areas where we have high visitor use, like maybe Bush or Reed or Eagle Bluffs, you know, some of those kinds of conservation areas, how will area managers, or will it be our rec use specialists that might interact? You know, do we have a phased approach for how we can handle that? Because I'm curious about support, like from your perspective, what demands on your time, those kinds of things.
Yeah, so the person who is creating the content does not necessarily have to be the person who is managing it on site. It really depends on the structure of that facility and how they want to divide up that work. So usually, as far as like that front end user experience, when a visitor comes to the site, we have that marketing poster that gives directions about how they can download the app and get started. And then we also have it would also require a little bit of training for our staff to be able to like troubleshoot with visitors. So that allows us to kind of guide them and get them set up. So there is a little bit of that. There's an opportunity to turn missions on and off depending on like usage. So if it's crazy busy and there is not enough staff to support the mission at the particular time, they can have the option of turning it off so that they can manage that. But really, there shouldn't be a ton of staff involvement once the visitor already reaches the site. It's primarily troubleshooting or getting them set up with that app. And then after that, it really runs itself through that application.
And the provider for the application, are they helping us with any of the data analysis or the, like the scores, the app scores, quality scores, or whatever that would come through from our users? Do we see that data separately, or?
That data is on the website that we can log into and provide. And what I imagine will happen is that we will have our missions launch, and then we can track on a weekly basis what those numbers are like and provide updated reports to the education branch so that that information is being shared frequently.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Susie. Our next update will be from Deputy Director Warren, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about COVID-19 updates again, which are always good. We appreciate it.
Well, good morning, MDC. Won't be quite as much of a broken record probably this week as I have been the last few times I've provided COVID updates. However, I will say, no surprise, the news is not as good as it has been the last few weeks either. So go ahead, Alan, to the next slide, or am I supposed to do that? Okay. All right, so what I wanted to do today was just to provide a little bit of perspective. And while we haven't had a lot of shift in the numbers, we are seeing the shift of an increase. So we got to a really good spot toward the end of March where we actually had broken through and had less than a 4% positivity rate, no matter how we were looking at it. You can see that we had continued to, kind of maintain a plateau of, somewhere in the high 3, low 4% positivity rate. Felt really good about that at the end of March. And then spring breaks happened, I think. And folks did travel. And so if you can go to the next slide then, Alan. We are starting to see an increase in the positivity rates again. And, I think for the most part, what they are attributing that to is just that 18 to 24% or 18 to 24-year-old age group. That's where we're seeing the steepest incline in positivity rates again, and they are attributing that to a lot of the travel that happened in that age group due to spring break and other things. So next slide. Today, when we had our 7:30 deputies call, We've got a few counties in the state that really are climbing quickly. And so even from early in the week when we saw those kind of the health dashboards that we see in the deputies meeting compared to today, what's out on the public website, you can see that those, the PCR and the antigen testing positivity rates are increasing quickly. The hospitalizations are pretty stable, which is a good sign. And again, that probably goes back to the age group that is being most infected at this point in time. Next slide. However, you can see here where we are, where you're seeing the greatest number of cases per 100,000 population. What they have been seeing, especially in Jefferson County right now, is that increase in positivity rate, but the positives are the new UK variant. So we knew it was only a matter of time before we would have to deal with the variants here in the state. So we are still in that race, folks, to get everyone vaccinated as quickly as possible so we can help stem the curve of whatever may come from that and significantly more contagious variant of the virus. So next slide. Let's see. I'm not sure why I put that in there. So this is just the same data, only the antigen test versus the PCR. A little bit of a difference there. Go ahead to the next slide. But here's, again, where we, just want to remind folks, what you can do to help is the same. First of all, vaccinations are open to everyone in the state. Please, do what you can to help, yourself, your family members, whoever. I need to put my hand up and say I still haven't got my 18-year-old son vaccinated and need to make that a priority. So I know, there are probably lots of other folks in the same boat. It's not hard, for Mr. Warren and I to get vaccinated because we can control our schedules a little more. But if you've got a teenager in the house, now that you can get everyone vaccinated 16 and older, that might present more of a challenge for folks. So, but we have seen an increase in the number of cases. So we just do need everyone to continue to maintain that strain as much as possible. Keep wearing your mask, keep washing your hands, keep disinfecting. I know once I got 2 weeks past my vaccination, I kind of wanted to, throw the mask off and just run free. But you can't just throw the mask off and run free yet. Soon, but not yet. Go ahead to the next slide. Great news on the vaccination front. We have had some serious spikes, and I can't see this as well, but we had a day earlier this month where we vaccinated almost 80,000 people in the state in a single day. So, I can't say enough, I guess, about how well all of the agencies and our federal partners have pulled together to make sure that we've got the supply available for folks who are interested in getting vaccinated. We are one of those states that has more supply than we do have interest right now. So that can't be anyone's excuse necessarily anymore about not getting the vaccine, because the vaccine is available. So we've got 21% of the state that has been fully vaccinated, and we're sitting at 32% of the population who's at least initiated. They've had their first round. Go ahead to the next slide. The greatest news, I think, here is that for our folks who are 65 and older, they really have taken that message very seriously. Of course, they recognize they were the age group that was at greatest risk, and so they have done a very good job. We continue to see, the difference in male to female ratio where, the males are catching up, but, we still have more females vaccinated in the state than we do males. So we get closer and closer all the time, probably, to the number of folks who can get the vaccine in those older age groups who have had the vaccine. We just want to make sure now that we see all of those younger age cohorts actually, those vaccination rates increase as well. Next slide, please. Governor's office continues to monitor the equitable distribution of the vaccine. So we don't really have a hand in this except, to say to our folks, our staff, if there's a way that you can help folks in your community that maybe have challenges getting to a vaccination location, please, feel free to help in your community in any way that you can to help get those that might have challenges to getting the vaccine to help remove some of those barriers. Next slide. Just always remind folks, if you're curious about how things are going in your county, the Show Me Recovery website does have, kind of the day-by-day, blow-by-blow, how the vaccinations are going across the state. So you can see here a little different look than we had early on in the vaccination. So some of our more populous counties are now moving into that higher tier of having their population vaccinated, which is fantastic news. Next slide. And this is just, again, another look at the share of the population by age group, by gender, by race. You know, again, just want to remind folks that all this data is out there available, because I know that we still do have, you know, our RCTs and other office locations trying to make decisions about how and when to open back up, you know, to programming, and something that resembles more close to probably, you know, fully staffed on any given day, all staff reporting to an office. So just remind folks the data is there, and you can go out there and take a look and make a good decision, informed decision for your team where you are. Next slide. Go ahead to the next slide. As I said before, we have reached a point where we do have enough supply to take care of all the demand. So the trick right now is to get the demand up so we can get the shots that we have in the state into arms. Next slide. You are seeing weekly reminders from our HR team about when and where we've got the state employee mass vax events happening. So just stay tuned, keep an eye on your email. Recognize that those aren't necessarily available for all family members, but if you are an employee of MDC and you still haven't had an opportunity, the state is making those opportunities available to state team members as often as they can around the state. Next slide. So certainly one of the things we've talked about this week is the pause on the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. There's a separate website. It's not on the Show Me Recovery website, but the Get the Facts, the COVID Facts website is still there too. Just type into I've provided the specific address, I guess, for the pause on the J&J vaccine. But just to remind folks, if you've got questions, people have questions, direct them to that COVID vaccine. You can just type in Missouri vaccine facts and it'll take you right to this website. And they do now have specific FAQs for the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. I mentioned earlier this week, my middle daughter did get the J&J vaccine on Friday. So, a little bit of concern, but for the most part, it's the same as we've heard. I'm not going to remember the pause they had on the one brand of vaccine in the UK, but it's concerning, but, it's just something everybody needs to be aware of. And talking with their AstraZeneca, thank you, the AstraZeneca vaccine. Same kind of situation with that one. So folks do need to be talking with their healthcare provider prior to making a decision about which vaccine they're going to take. Next slide. I have shared this slide probably every update I've given since we had the Dr. Powderly presentation, and it's just that reminder that if we can all continue to just behave, we'll be all right by fall. And summer is here, we can all get outside, we can do a lot of things that we weren't able to do last year at this time. I'm thankful for that, whether it's, kids being able to do sporting events or their routine end of year school event kind of activities, but all of those things still do need to happen with masks, outdoors as much as possible, and certainly socially distanced with people being aware. And as long as we keep that up, we'll be able to maintain the strain economically and for our healthcare system and for each other, just to keep each other safe. So I think that's it for me today. And I'm certain if folks have questions, like always, do feel free to email me. I'm happy to share data, happy to share answers. We are continuing to finalize the work that we've been doing on our distributed work guidelines. It's a high priority for not just MDC, but for the state. And administration will be having a conversation, I think, here in the next couple of weeks, just kind of set additional parameters, sideboards, expectations, and the distributed work team has been in the process of reviewing all the comments that they've gotten from department leadership on the distributed work guidelines. And we will hopefully wrap that review up here in early to late May, identify whatever policy changes need to be made, work with HR to get those done. So we are in a good spot come July 1 to roll that guidance out to staff. So thanks, everybody. I know we're all being mindful. As a matter of fact, I had an opportunity to travel a little bit over the course of the last week, and, you know, people don't know that I am, and it's great. But I've seen folks in MDC vehicles paired up, you know, on their own accord, masked up. It makes me proud every time I see it. So keep up the great work and happy spring.
Thank you, Jennifer. Our last item is to finish up branch chief updates. Mr. Neubauer's already gone. Next up will be Jeff Arnold, and then after Jeff, I will go through all of the branch updates that were provided in written form. So, Jeff?
Well, thank you and good morning. Just kind of a little bit of follow-up to Chris's presentation that he had on vehicle and trailer inspections. One thing we wanted folks to know is that that email will actually come from Fleet Services at mdc.mo.gov. But he's also worked with IT, so it should not show up in your spam account. So if you do see that, please pay attention to it. And just to kind of reiterate on that as well, you know, safety is our main goal with what we're looking for on the vehicle and trailer inspections. And I know one of the questions that came up was, you know, how often are we replacing those? The heavy equipment trailers, which are our 14,000 pound and above GVWRs, those are actually part of our heavy equipment budget cycle now. So we have replacement criteria already in place for those. The remaining, we call it basically our light duty trailers. And with those, our goal is to replace roughly about 10% of those a year. So we've got money assigned in the budget to take care of both of those items. So, and we're working forward to try to get a little bit better of a criteria in place for those lighter duty trailers. So just to let everybody aware of that. Next one I had on the list was the Lamerson Conservation Area, the auction we have getting ready to go off next Friday, actually, April 23rd. I will be so happy when that is behind me. It seems like it's been a while to try to get this in place. We had it set to go last year when everything shut down, so we're in good shape. The advertising and everything went out from the auctioneer here just this week, actually. So we're good to go, and hopefully by 5 o'clock next Friday night, I won't have to deal with that anymore, and we can get that place opened up. The last little piece of item I have here is we've been getting quite a few correspondence coming in regards to some vacancies we have down in our area. In particular around hourly payroll. Let me assure you that folks are going to get paid. So don't worry about that. That is in place. They're going to get paid. We are currently working through the PARS cards right now for the 4/1 through 4/15 cycle. We've got everything in place there. It's just the next step in the process to get everything in so you can enter time into IntelliTime. So that should be available today or tomorrow at the latest, as long as we had everything we needed to get that in place. If you have any questions on it, holler at me and we'll make sure that we get it taken care of. The other thing I wanted to mention was salary payroll. That's going to stay the same as it was. So any questions, holler at Brittany. She'll take care of you. P-card contact, send everything to Shauna Patton for right now as we work through everything. And we'll go from there. And then with payables, if you have any questions on anything in regards to invoicing or any of that, we have regional contacts down there in our payables section. The map that shows you who your payables representative is available on the payables SharePoint site. So please just take a look out there, contact them first. And if you're still having some issues, holler at me and we'll make sure everything gets taken care of. So rest assured, we will make sure you're taken care of. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm going to wrap us up here hopefully in the next 5 to 10 minutes. So appreciate everyone bearing with us today. From communications, Ms. Heather Feeler says, the web team finished the last technical hurdle on the website upgrade and are working on the final launch timeframe. We will be sending an email out to staff when we have the dates confirmed. so you have an early heads up on the final transition dates. Alan, will you pull up the slide for this campaign? The next thing Heather wanted to talk about was Never Lose Touch marketing campaign. There we go. Last month, we shared that MDC will be launching a new marketing campaign this spring aimed at the YAYAs, which stand for Youth and Young Adults. We hope to share more about this campaign at a future all-employees meeting, including how the campaign was developed by MU's Columbia Mojo advertising class. But you'll start seeing elements of the Never Lose Touch campaign in the May issue of the Missouri Conservationist. Next up, I think that's all we need there, Alan. Relevancy, Jessica Hoy said the 5th Annual Missouri Conservation Partners Roundtable will be October 13th and 14th, once again in all virtual conference format. Staff are welcome to participate, so put that on your calendar now if you can. That was October 13th and 14th. The theme at this year's conference will be Connected Like Never Before, building on recent gains in getting people outdoors during COVID. Stay tuned for more details and contact Amy Beekler if you have questions or ideas for a workshop to share with our conservation partners. Moving on to protection, Randy Doman. The 2021 Agent Training Academy officially kicked off on April 1st with a class of 16 very excited trainees. They've just finished their second week of a 6-month training academy. Agents have been busy working early turkey hunting activity, which has resulted in several arrests being made on individuals killing turkeys out of season. One such individual was found to be in possession of 7 illegally harvested turkeys from just this spring. The Mississippi Flyway Council's Law Enforcement Committee recently selected Missouri's Big Muddy Association and the Friends of Eagle Bluffs organizations for the Mississippi Flyway Council's Law Enforcement Heritage Award. These organizations will be officially recognized and presented with their awards at the 2022 Mississippi Flyway Council's summer meeting being held here in Missouri. From education, Jeff Cockerham provided. Education staff and volunteers will be working the state high school trap shooting championship Saturday, April 17th, or the day after tomorrow, held at the Missouri State Trap Shooting Headquarters at Lynn Creek. They expect approximately 1,000 shooters to attend that event. St. Louis staff, Becky Robertson, Danny Machowski, and Tracy Pringer assisted the Foundry Arts Center in St. Charles to clean up and prepare an area for native plants. The center will have a summer camp where the students will be able to plant the native plants in that location. St. Louis conservation educator Dennis Cook celebrated 38 years of full-time service with the department on April 1st of this year, and that's not an April Fool's joke. 38 years is a great career, and I believe he's still going. Hunter Education and Range Coordinator Justin McGuire met with representatives from the International Hunter Education Association and the Wildlife Management Institute to discuss an upcoming research project that will study the effectiveness of different hunter education delivery methods. Missouri will be part of the study, and more information will be coming at a later date. From Statewide Resource Management, Mr. Brian Canaday. Nominations are now being accepted for the inaugural FY21 Statewide Resource Management Branch Awards. Nominations may be submitted by any department employee. It should be based on work activities in the last year. Salaried, term, and hourly employees can be nominated. The deadline for submission is May 15th. And please contact Brian Canaday or any of the Statewide Resource Management section chiefs if you have questions. 4 state record fish have been recognized in 2021. The 3 most recent are for long-nosed gar, white sucker, and spotted gar. The spotted gar, weighing 10 pounds 9 ounces, is not only a state record, but should be a new world record once certified, beating the current world record of 9 pounds 12 ounces by a pretty substantial margin. Trout season is off to a great start. Compared to the 5-year average, tag sales for 2021 are up 9%, with a total of 58,876 tags sold in March alone at the 4 trout parks. The official ribbon cutting for the Roaring River project was held on March 26th. Managers Paul Spurgeon and Assistant Manager Brad Farwell and their staff are very pleased with the improvements and are working to get the hatchery back online and in full production. Lost Valley staff delivered the first urban catfish load of the year to St. Louis on April 7th. This very popular stocking program will continue in both St. Louis and Kansas City throughout the spring, summer, and into the early fall. Paddlefish spawning was a success again this year, with over 2 million eggs taken. The eggs are currently developing in the hatchery batteries at Lost Valley and Blind Pony and will be stocked in production ponds soon. Walleye spawning has been completed this year with over 18 million eggs taken. The eggs have hatched and fry have been set in rearing ponds at all 4 warm water hatcheries. Lots of rain, high lake levels, and flow fluctuations through dams made this year's walleye collections more challenging. Collection efforts were only successful because of the great teamwork with staff in the regions. April is a month to celebrate Arbor Day. We are excited to share we were able to resume our normal Arbor Day tree seedling distribution to every 4th grade student in the state. In addition, staff are partnering with Forest and Woodland Association of Missouri to present a 30-minute virtual award every Friday in April, highlighting everything from how to plant and care for a tree to the intersection between trees and human health. The State Forest Nursery is near the end of this year's order window. As of April 8th, staff have processed 12,854 orders and have allocated 1.98 million seedlings. The window to order closes April 15th, and currently we have about 145,000 seedlings left of 20 different species. Staff from multiple branches are working together to update the Ag Crop Manual. This process will take some time and thought and will include additional topics such as cover cropping, carbon sequestration, and restrictions on insecticides and pesticides. During the past 2 afternoons, staff from multiple branches attended a virtual refresher course on wildlife incident response training, which included guidelines for wildlife human attacks by bears, mountain lions, coyotes, bobcats, and other animals. There were also discussions on case studies and how to respond, what worked, what didn't work, and some things we should think about before we get into these situations. And finally, the Waterfowl Hunt Committee met on April 6th, and among many topics, they discussed how the 2020 waterfowl program went during the pandemic and discussed options for moving forward with the hunt program in 2021 based on lessons learned and public input. Moving on to community and private lands conservation, Bill White provided that CPLC and Regional Resource Management field staff have been key players in allocating a record $5.1 million in USDA Environmental Quality Incentive Program funding to landowners in the FY21 for monarch, forestry, and wildlife practices. That's a lot of additional funds for conservation on the ground in our state. Great effort. The community science project that was piloted last summer, the Missouri Bumblebee Atlas, will be fully implemented this year beginning June 1st. Training will be conducted by Atlas partners in May for volunteers. Area managers may be contacted by volunteers about conducting the surveys on department areas. Last year's pilot found several bumblebee species thought to be declining significantly. Contact Branch Chief Bill White for more information. From Information Technology, Douglas Fees. After a recent prioritization discussion with administration, the decision has been made to postpone the Microsoft Teams project with the hope of restarting the Teams project early in FY22. FY21 laptop replacements are underway, and we're trying to complete them before the end of this fiscal year, if not sooner. If you are contacted by IT to receive a replacement, I would greatly appreciate your flexibility in getting a time scheduled as quickly as possible to turn in your old device and receive your new one. They continue to see many delays in receiving IT equipment purchased this year, with most being delayed due to issues from the pandemic. So in order to reasonably assure the funds will be paid from FY '21, enter your IT purchase request into the online IT purchasing portal located on the IT SharePoint page as soon as possible, but no later than April 30th. And moving on to Regional Resource Management. Regional Resource Management from John Tuttle had a very successful prescribed burn season, with many high-priority burns being completed. In addition, they had different periods of wildfire suppression activities. The one MDC concept was demonstrated very successfully during these activities. All regions have been active in completing field activities such as fish sampling, forest inventories, and various habitat work. And lastly, I wanted to say we've completed our draft regional work plans, which will be available to division chiefs for their review very shortly. And that is our last update. I want to thank everyone for taking time this morning and being here today to learn about what's going on in the department. And I also want to remind everyone that Monday, while it's not a national holiday, it should be, and you may be hard pressed to find very many of us in the office. And if you're going to be in the office, I encourage you to find reasons not to be. So enjoy spring, folks. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.